Hey, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here at my day job. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. Because without you guys, well, I would just go nuts. And we're in the middle of that project. Remember I made that big-ass bulkhead over there? Well, they're actually painting it to blend in, and the guys with the projectors are coming over, so I've got to actually cut a slot into that sucker to make sure that it works with exactly the spot that you want. And then, of course, there's another hole that we cut in here for the other projector box. And the painters, well, they're over here working on getting some of that stuff squared away. I'm going to be working over here. The electrician's working over here. It's going to be a pooch screw, to say the least.
Will change that.
Might be back next.
Well, I think they're getting a little bit more healthy on the offensive line. Looks like Zach Martin would be out of the concussion protocol, so he should be back at guard. Tyron Smith still trying to play through the pain in his back and groin, but he should be good to go. And then La'el Collins, they've got him listed as questionable for the game. He hadn't practiced all week. He's had some back pain, and they're hopeful, but I don't think it's a certainty. But if they can get that offensive line back together, playing efficiently, I would think that would help.
Run the ball more.
Unfortunately for them, the injuries on the offensive line coincided with the loss of Ezekiel Elliott, and I think it's really hampered their ability to be able to compensate for his loss by throwing the ball more effectively to loosen up defenses. So we'll see, but they're kind of in a all-time offensive tailspin that we had never seen here with the Cowboys in their 58-year history, unable to score no more than not even 10 points in 3 consecutive games.
What percentage? Dak was so beloved in that first season, and I'm sure it's hard because we went through that with Robert Griffin, just having this amazing dude that could play. And I'm sure it's hard to say that maybe some of it is Dak, and there have been offensive line issues, and they're not the same team without Zeke. But Mickey, if you're watching this team play, Dak's not playing all right now. How is that handled in Dallas?
I think there's, of course, the first thing you're going to blame is the head coach, and the second thing you're going to blame is the quarterback, right? That's an easy assessment. Well, let me put it this way. I mentioned the problems on the offensive line. In the first 8 games, he's been sacked 10 times. In the last 3 games, he's been sacked 14 times. Now, you can lay that at his feet if you want, and say, okay, he's not playing well, or you can also look at it and say he's not getting a chance because he's on his back, and it's not just the sacks, it's the inability to protect him in the quarterback and allow him to go through some progressions that I think he's used to going through. Now, I understand the interceptions, but you need to see the interceptions and not just see the number and say, oh, look what he's done here, because those interceptions were not all his fault. He's had a couple late in games when they're trying to catch up and you're behind by 20 points, and you're going to take chances that you don't normally take when time's running out. Right. He's had drop passes intercepted. He's had guys run a bad route, and the ball was intercepted. So I'm not laying this whole thing on his feet. Does he have to be better with some of the inaccurate throws he's made? Absolutely, but no quarterback completes every pass he throws. So I'd be hesitant to jump on that right away here.
Thank you, Mickey.
3-game losing streak, because all of a sudden it just happened, right? Because the beginning of the season, the first 8 games, he had this team on his back. And if it wasn't on his back, it was on his legs. And he kept them alive early in the season when the offense was struggling until they hit that 3-game winning streak when he was awfully, awfully good.
No, and that's kind of where I wanted to go and understand is no one really wants to say our quarterback is not playing at the level that we hoped he would play at. So let's focus on the head coach a little bit, because I watched a lot of this Cowboys offense over the last couple of weeks, Mickey, and it's a very simplistic offense, what Jason Garrett's doing.
Thank you.
It reminds me a little bit when Jim Zorn was in Washington. The same concepts, we're going to do it better than them.
Not like Jim Zorn.
And people have a sense, I think, when you watch defenses play against them, exactly what the Cowboys are doing. So why is Jason Garrett not evolving as a play caller?
Well, was last year the NFL Coach of the Year.
Oh, God, if I hear that one more
In the
time.
6 previous games before the 3-game losing streak, they were scoring at 28 points or more a game, 6 consecutive games. So what you're telling me is he just got stupid in these last 3 games.
No, he's been stupid for a long time.
I'm talking about.
And the defenses suddenly got real smart and figured out what the Cowboys were doing since last year.
You run flat hook 22 times in one game over most of the season.
I understand.
So it is very simplistic. When you run the ball, you don't have to
What did I
be
just
diverse.
say? I just said the easy thing to do when you have problems like that is first blame the head coach and then blame the quarterback. That's the easy thing to do from afar. If you're not seeing it every play of every game. That's simple. Yeah.
Well, I don't need to blame anyone, Mickey. I don't. It doesn't matter to me. I'm wondering about some of the issues that are going on.
Yeah, I'm just saying he didn't just get stupid. You know, our defenses just got smart because the first 8 games of the season certainly didn't exploit the offense the way the Cowboys are struggling right now. I think it's a deeper thing than that. This whole thing coincided with losing Ezekiel Elliott and struggling on the offensive line. Now, if you want to blame them for not having enough depth to have quality guys step up in the face of injury, then I'm good with that. They're guilty. They did not have enough depth. But to say that you're going to blame that they don't run a good offense, and it was an offense last year that was scoring 27 or 28 points a game on average, I just think that's a...
He didn't say they don't run good offense. He said it's simplistic.
It's simplistic, so I was just kind of wondering why.
Why didn't these teams figure it out last year when they went...
Well, you had better talent on the field.
Whoa.
Joe Gibbs ran a simplistic offense too. That wasn't as much of a criticism as you took it, I think.
No, it really wasn't.
Yeah.
I was just wondering why, with the lack of health, has that offense not tried to evolve more?
Yeah, that's more what he was saying. We're being joined by Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Now, take your opinion out of it. What's Jerry's opinion, do you think, on Jason Garrett right now?
Well, he has been very supportive, and that's sort of what Jerry does when things go poorly. He becomes the team's biggest cheerleader. I think he values what Jason Garrett has done so far, and I think he values not having to continue to have change. He values continuity. I think that's one thing he did. I know that sounds silly because of the changes they've had at head coach over the year, but he really has always wanted to sink his teeth into a coach and keep him for a long period of time and not keep changing systems, changing personnel, changing how you run things. And so I think he will be patient with Jason Garrett right now and let this thing play out. I don't think you're going to see a knee-jerk reaction the way some are already suggesting during this 3-game losing streak.
Is there a sense down there that this is it, that the season is on the line tonight, or is there any resignation at this point after the last 3 games?
I think the season's on the line for both teams tonight.
Yeah,
right?
no doubt. In terms of NFC wildcard contention, it's an elimination game, but the Cowboys come into this, as you mentioned, historically bad offensive outputs the last 3 games. Is there a sense down there that they can actually turn this around?
I think there's still a sense with the fans or a sense with the team, because I think the team hasn't lost faith that they can get out of this. I know the fans are ready to jump out the window when they've seen this.
Yeah.
And you're right. And that's a natural reaction. I understand it. I've been in this game long enough to know how fickle fans can be. But yeah, at 5 and 6, I don't think either team has a chance to get a wild card bid if they don't get to 10 wins, or at least get themselves into a tiebreaker at 10 wins. And the playoffs basically for the Redskins and the Cowboys start tonight, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
You either win or you're out.
Well, they have both.
I don't think 9 and 7 is going to cut it. And the Cowboys, if if they don't start winning, then it's not going to even matter when Ezekiel Elliott gets back for those last 2 games.
Right.
Exactly. Mickey, thanks so much for your time. As always, really appreciate it.
Okay,
Thanks,
good
buddy.
talking with you guys. Take care.
All right, Mickey Spagnola down.
Wow, Mickey was going off. He's basically saying, don't blame the coach. I mean, he is towing the party line. I'm sorry. I understand Jerry's talking about wanting to have continuity and coaching and all that, but dude, he's been here 10 years, 7 years as the head coach, and we keep having the same issues. Even Chris Cooley's admitting that it's a very simplistic offense that people can pick up. Now Mickey comes back and says, yeah, well, they were scoring points like crazy. Yeah, that is when everything is perfect. And when you looked at the competition they were playing early, I'm sorry, we beat the Giants, we beat the 49ers, we beat the Redskins. Yeah, that offense worked great against those guys, but then when you started playing against real competition down a player or two, it didn't work so well. You look what Atlanta did. You looked what the Eagles did. You looked what even San Diego did. Depth is truly a problem. Our wide receivers not being able to get open is definitely a problem. Our offensive line is not the same offensive line it was last year. All those things are adding up and making it more difficult for Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has missed plays. I will be the first one to admit it, but he is also getting beat to hell. As Mickey pointed out, he was sacked 10 times the first 8 games and 14 times the last 3. And add to that about 19 hits. He is literally running for his life and having to make plays on the move to wide receivers that aren't getting separation. So when you want to look at the failure, yes, Dak needs to take some of the blame, but as well as the play calling and the simplistic offense, as well as the wide receivers not being able to get open, as well as the offensive line not being able to block and do their job, as well as the running game not being used enough. So all those things together in totality means your offense isn't going to do dog doo-doo. But we'll have to wait and see what team shows up tonight. But that was interesting how feisty Mickey Spagnola was against Chris Cooley. As always, friends, I'm Mark Holmes. It's Cowboy Jobu. We'll see you guys soon.